Hey everyone, it's Jason. Welcome to another unboxing for the Railroad Ink. This is the Challenge Edition. So we have a Lush Green and Shining Yellow. So I previously have done, if you haven't checked it out, I did one for the red and blue sets. I've also done one for the expansion add-on stuff. So what the challenge ones do is they're the same game overall, the same concept of the other Railroad Ink game. But they add a little bit more complexity to them. So it's kind of funny because you can buy these and you can get extra expansions to play with, because each one contains 2 extra little expansions. So the green one's also going to have the forest and trails, and the yellow one will have canyons and deserts. So you can buy these to get extra stuff, and then you can have some upgraded different dice and some other stuff that you can mix and match with the rest of your games as well. So let's hop in and take a look at these quick. So we're just going to look at that. So what's in the box? Of course, we're going to get instructions. We're going to get our boards. So we're going to get 4 boards, so you can play up to 4-player, which is nice about these base games. Everyone can sit down and they can play 4-player. If you get 2 of them, then you can play a couple more players. Just realizing the more people you add, potentially the longer game is going to take, because you don't want to waste too much time and you're all playing turns at the same time. But if you have someone that lags behind, you get your 4 markers with your little erasers. You're going to get a pack of challenge cards here, which mine don't want to come out now because I've already unboxed them. We'll pop them out later and we'll look at those. You get your 4 main route dice, and you get your two sets of expansion dice. So what is Railroad Ink? In case you didn't watch one of the other videos, it is a roll and write game. So what you're going to do is roll these dice, these white dice called root or route dice, depending on how you say that. Then whatever symbols show on here, you have to then draw on here. And being a railroad game, what you are trying to do is complete either railroads, which are the lines, or roads, which are the 2 straight lines with the dots in the middle. And you're trying to connect them from one side to the other. So like I have an entry of a road here, I have an entry and exit here. So I want to connect those 2 together, or this one to that one. Or you have railroads. So when you're drawing them, you can only connect a railroad to a railroad, a road to a road, with a few minor exceptions, which are these black junction boxes, or stations, actually. And that's the basis of the game. So basically what I do is I roll these 4 dice, then each player has to go through and draw whatever's on there. So open up. So if these are my 4 dice for the turn, I have to draw 2 cross railroads. So I have to start with one of my, let me zoom down here a little bit, get a little bit better view. So I have to draw 2 cross in that. So I have to come off of one of these. So basically I do this. You know, not the best artist in the world. There's one of my dice. And I pick another one to go a different direction. So why don't we do like this? So at the end of the game, though, there's going to be various points you'll be scored for connecting things, finishing things, not finishing things, various stuff like that. So another one I can do is I got this fun one here, which lets me do a railroad there, but then a road here, with this black box in between. And then finally I have an overpass, which is this is called. So we're going to do a road in the middle. And I apologize for my really quick, crappy drawing. So I've done my 4 different ones for this round. So now what I've done is I've already completed one route. So I've added this exit to this exit, because it goes railroad, railroad into a train. But now I've also set up here, I have a railroad that can connect right there. I can continue my railroad down this way. My road can keep going straight across. So I got some really good dice for this turn, but you have to use all 4 of them. Up at the very top here of your little board, it's going to show you all the different sides of the dice. So, and we'll look at it a little bit closer in a minute. But it's also going to show you all this other different information on here. There's stuff for like scoring different little orange houses, which are on here. The green buildings, the black buildings, are different spots. These are added from the challenge, and we'll read what those do in just a moment. Plus, there's special spots that you can use. 3 of these during the game to cross off to do. These points here are all for scoring later in the game. And that's basically how that's, and that's really nice, is it's all dry erasable. So, I didn't like that, you can erase it. Alright, so that's the basis of how that is. Let's actually take a look at the book quick. So, your setup is, you're going to take your board, marker, route dice, all that. Now, you can play with expansions if you want, add extra goals, which lets you do extra things, but you don't have to. Or if you play with expansions, you're going to get extra points for using the expansions. But you can skip all that if you don't want to. Or maybe at least for the first couple of games. So then here they're showing, like, here when you're doing your dice, maybe cross them off as you go through so you remember which one you've done. Because again, the dice pool has to be shared for everybody. So if you have 4 or 5, 6 people playing, it might be easier, like, I've done that one, you can cross it off so you know which one you did in case people move the dice around. But there's all these, there's 15 times. There's straight highway, straight railroad, curved of each, T-junction for each. Then there's a station for each, but the station with the railroad we get 2 of, we only get 1 of the other one. A straight station, a curved station, double-edged, or double-curved railroad and highway, dead ends, and overpass. Stations allow you to connect railway routes to highway, and overpass allows you to cross the 2 without connecting them. So that's basically the different types of dice. Now, what is very interesting that I want to point out is in the challenge, there are all these different types. 15 different types, it says, with 1 duplicate. This is the base game. The base game, you just get the straight, curved T-junction, and you get 3 of each, for 3 of each of those, or 2 of each of those, and then you also get 1 overpass, some overpass, curve station, and that. So in the challenge dice, you're actually going to also get the double curve, the straight stations, the T-junctions. So you get in some dead ends. You get more options, but you get less of each. So this one you're going to roll a lot more straights and a lot more curved and T-junctions than this, but you're going to get some other specialty ones on here. So it's also a fun reason to pick up the challenge game, is you're going to get different dice. So it just makes the game a little bit more interesting, because then you get a different combination as well. Then here's just showing drawing routes. When you draw a route, it always has to connect to another one. It can't be by itself. It can't be connected to the wrong thing, like a road to a railroad, and it can't be connected to a railroad up there. So very interesting. But definitely rotate the dice as much as you need to. So, like, or flip them, it says you can also do too. So you don't have to draw the pattern exactly as you see it. So like this one, I can draw it this way, that way, that way, or that way. I can do it whatever. But then they're showing, like all these will, rotate around the different directions. They're showing like this one, I can do it that way, that way, that way, that way, that way. All as it tears on here is I'm going up and then off to left or right. Because I don't have to always go to the left. I can go to the right if I want for that. Which also makes that very helpful. Alright, then a couple other things we have. We have special routes. So at the very top there, we showed there was these 6 spots up here. These are called special routes, which are basically the 4 crosses. So 3 times throughout the game, you can go ahead and use those when you have to cross it off. You can only use 1 per round. You play the game over 6 rounds. 6 or 7 rounds, I don't remember. It might depend. It also depends sometimes on if you're adding expansions and things like that. But over the course of the game, you can only do that so many times. You gotta use them conservatively, but you also want to make sure you don't not use them. But maybe you don't need to. So you're not being forced to. Then they have 3 special buildings. This is new for the challenge. Each one has an effect that takes immediately once you draw something there. We have the factories, which are the little black ones. You activate a factory when you draw a route with at least one railway or highway stretched in its space. You may duplicate the route dice as it will roll this round. Draw it twice during the same round. So if I put something inside a factory with a curved one, I get a second curved die. A village, when you activate a village when you draw a route with a station in it. When you activate this village, mark the upper leftmost marking village at the space. At the end of the game, you'll gain points equal to the value of the highest marked value. So up there, they're going to show that. So if you do one of them, you get 2 points. But if you can do up to 4 of them, you can get up to 8 extra points just for trying to draw a station in there. So again, do you have to do this? No, you can put anything in that square. It just, if you have the opportunity to do it, gain some extra bonus points. And then the university. Activate a university by drawing either a railway or a highway stretching in space. When you activate a university, mark one of the spaces on your scoreboard. When you mark your third and last university, you may immediately draw one special route for free. It won't count towards your limit of 1 per round, and or your 3. You must still mark the route because it can only be used once. So there we have the 3 dots. Once you cross off all 3, you get to use one of those extra spaces. So again, it's kind of nice. And they put the little black one on there too for ×2. So that's basically what it does. It just, they help you do extra stuff or anything. And you can chain them together. So like you could play the black one, get a double one, run that, draw a station through there, then get a station and somehow run it into that one. And then running into that. You could get multiple different ones in a row. Just depending on where stuff lands. Then we have goals. If you're playing with goals, which are special cards, you can check at the end of the game for scoring purposes to see if you've scored any goals. So it says, wait till once all players have drawn their routes, time to check and declare goals. The only way to score points during the game is the rest are calculated. It's basically, so what it is each goal card has a number on the bottom. So like 4, 2, and 1. So the first player that gets it gets 4 points. The second player gets 2 points. Third player gets 3 points. Last player would get none. So you want to try and complete them before everybody else to gain the most points. But then you, but yeah, if you're getting towards the end, or if you're going to be the last player, you know you're not going to win. Don't bother to try for it. Then, end of the round, mark spaces that you've currently been in with a number. So after round 1, you mark 1. Round 2, you mark 2. This is just so that way you make sure you know which round you've drawn stuff in. So that way, your next round you don't, because until the end of the round you can still erase stuff. You don't erase something that has a number in it. Alright, so goal cards are kind of fun. They just add extra tasks and stuff in there. So you just have it. You write the code of whatever it is on there, so you know what which one goes to which one, and then when you score points, you can put them in your box. Very simple, just keeping track. And then the end of the game, after all the seventh round, unless you're playing with one of the expansions that may change the amount, you add up all your stuff. So you're going to show networks, longest highway, longest railway, center spaces, village points, goal points, expansion points, errors, and your final total. So what I love is here it shows us a full map someone's done, and they showed how it did. So you want to connect exits. So every time you get an exit connected, you're going to gain points. I'm just going to show how many you get for each one. So for each exit that is connected together, you're going to gain that many points. So it's going to show that little arrow down here. So if you only have 2 exits that connect together, you gain 4 points. If you can connect 8 together, you get 28. So the goal is not just to connect one side to the other, it's to connect as many as possible. So they have these 4 A's that all connect together in some fashion. So they're going to get 12 points. And then B's, they have all 5 of these that connect together. So they get another 16 for a total of 28 points. So the more you can connect to each other, the better. And they get points that way. Bonus points for your longest highway. So the single longest unbroken highway. So it doesn't matter whether it is exited or not, as long as it's the longest highway. Same with railway. It's the longest when you have, whether it is exiting or not. It's not counting that. And then you have central spaces. So on the board, there's these orange squares. You can gain up to 9 points for every component you have in one of those spaces. So like for this one here, they're showing they have a railway of 16 spaces, a road that crosses that way that has, road has 16, railway has 14. And then they have 7 spots of the 9 because they didn't do these last 2. Then gold cards. This is just explaining how each gold card works. I'm not going to go over that right now. There's solo mode you can do. There's a drafting mode. There's some of the other things you can do. Which basically you're going to do is combine. If you're always playing, you'll need 1 railroad ink box for each player joining in the game. Either one of them. It's the same game, except instead of using a single set of dice, all players will draft their dice from a common pool. So you roll all the dice, then everyone gets to pick out 2 dice. So that everyone gets different dice to use each turn instead of using the same dice. So it makes the game even more chaotic and different. So it's kind of cool. I'm not going to go through all of this too terribly much. Then there are expansions. The expansions are really fun. So every big game has 2, and then there's some extra box sets that each have a set of at least 2 expansions as well, which is add an extra mode to it. So if you're going to do an expansion, it's going to show you mark that in the little star areas where you'll put your expansion points. And then each expansion plays differently. So this one has routes, this is the forest die. So if we look at that, so we looked at our first, let's pause for a minute. Let's look at our dice here. So here's all the different sides of our dice. We've kind of seen some of them. Definitely that is that. Let's look at our challenge cards. Set that off to the side. So our challenge cards will have a big circle on the back. And so basically this is, and the book explains in better detail what each of these do. But basically this is saying, you gain 5 game points for having at least 5 in the center. Let me double check. Draw anything of at least 5 in the center of the board. Spaces don't need to count. So this will get you an additional 5 points. Or get points for having at least 5 things in the center. Including your points you score at the end. For having 3 active stations, you get some points. For having anything in a single row or column that crosses the entire board. So that's kind of fun. So either direction. We have 3 here. So draw at least anything at least 3 of your corner spaces on the board. So if you do 3 of the corners, which can be difficult because it usually leads to like a dead end. Then we have draw anything in all the spaces on a 3x3 space on the board. Doesn't matter if it's in the corner, the middle, where it's at. And then finally, we have create a circular path that starts and ends at the same point. So you just gotta create a circle of your board. So it's definitely a fun thing to do. I did not point out for scoring points. I failed to point out this because I was pointing out all the rest of this stuff. Is errors. Let me just point that out quick. Right here. Each player must check for incomplete routes. At the end of a route does not connect to any other route or to an outer edge. So, like here, this connects exit. This one connects to an exit. This one connects to a station. this one goes to the outside border. So you lose a point for each of these because they didn't connect to anything. So that's also, you lose 1 point for each one. So that's definitely something you want to keep an eye on as well. Just to point that out. Alright, now let's look at our other dice here. So we're going to start with the forest. And these are always kind of fun. So these are optional to play in both ways. Because one, you don't ever have to include expansion into your game. And then two, even if you do play it, you don't have to even use them. So how do the forest dice work? Basically what it does here is it's going to set up here easy, and it knocks it down to 6 rounds because you're rolling extra dice. When you draw routes, you do not have to draw any forest dice, so you don't want to. You still have to use your regular 4. Forest dice don't have to be connected to any pre-existing routes or trees. So this is what makes some of the expansion things kind of fun, because you can put them anywhere. They don't have to directly be connected, but you have to also pay attention. That means you may end up with more errors. Each group of trees orthogonally adjacent to specific trees around them, whether or not they contain routes or not, becomes a forest. Orthogonally is up, down, left, or right, not diagonally. So like right here in this example, orthogonally are these two, but these two are diagonal from each other. So that's just the difference there. At the end of the game, choose up to 2 different forests on each board, or on your board. Gain 2 points for each space occupied by the first forest you choose, and 1 point occupied for each space on the second. So basically, you want to choose your biggest forest. You're going to gain 2 points for each. So she gained 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. And then she gained 1 point for the other 2, so 13, 14, 15 points. So the biggest forest you can make. So they've done other ones like this with like, I think like some of the other sets have done similar things, but this is definitely fun. So you're gonna get 2 types of dice. You're gonna get routes with trees or trees only. So you get some with just trees, some with straight routes, some with curved routes. But I think you're just straight and curves. So nothing extra special throwing in there. But that could help you definitely. You can be like, so it's kind of fun with these expansions because you have the one thing with the trees. You can try and gain some extra points that way. Plus, it also gets you a potential 2 extra dice to add some extra roads. Like, oh, I really needed another straight, or I really needed another railroad or a curve. These might give you them extra little ones to help you. So those are our forest dice. I love that all the dice are very different colors, so you can tell them apart very quick. And then we have trail dice. So this is a harder difficulty. Again, drops back down to 6 rounds. When you have to draw a route, you do not have to draw any of the trail dice you don't want to. And this is not always consistent for every expansion, so you really have to pay attention to what the expansion is. Trail dice, you must be connected to pre-existing routes or trails. So like the forest, you can put them anywhere. These ones have to be connected to each other. So if you choose to draw one, you don't just get to add an extra railroad or regular road. You have to connect it to another trail. Trails with open ends do not count as errors during the game, so that's fine. When a trail touching the corner of a space contains a station, it immediately auto-connects to that station to the shortest diagonal path. At the end of the game, each station connected to each other via the same network is worth the amount of points determined by the number of stations connected. So what that is meaning is, let me get my camera to focus back up. For example, in the small thing, when a trail enters a corner space, the station immediately auto-connects. So what this is saying, they played this one here, it's going to auto-connect. The little red lines are showing it's auto-connecting to that station. And then this is going to auto-connect down to that one. And that one's going to auto-connect there. So immediately they make them, that's how you get them to like connect together. And that's just to calculate the value of a set of stations connect to each other via the same network. So if any of them are all connected, so you can see here you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stations, which are all connected. because they have this one's connected station that way. This one connects through this overpass into there, which connects to that one. Connects this way up to that overpass to that one, and this one connects down to that one. It's connected by trails, not by other routes. So that's definitely a fun little interesting thing, but it also makes it a little bit more challenging because you have to focus on the stations, which might not work as well if you're playing with the base game, because the base game doesn't have as many stations. So there's some of our different dice. So those are definitely fun. What they also did for challenge mode, though, is we added extra challenge cards for these. So we have for our trails, we're going to have this card, which is draw 5 trails in adjacent spaces in a column or row they don't even need to touch. So if you just have 5 of them somehow in a row or a column, you're going to get some points. Here we have connect at least 3 trails to the same station. And this one is draw 5 trails in the center area of your board. They don't need to be connected, but they do. And what's nice is because the little booklet explains it a little bit better, in case you're not sure what that means. Then for our forests, we have draw at least 5 separate forests. They can be merged after you achieve the goal. So you want to drive five of them separate, and then you can merge them later. So like there, they're showing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but like now, later they could drop a forest there, or a forest there, or a forest there to connect all them back together. Here we have draw an uninterrupted streak of 4 diagonal tree spaces. What is fun here is that they're showing is you can actually do like a V pattern as well. So you could go 1, 2, 3, and then 4, as long as they are with diagonals, and not adjacent to each other. But you can't have trees in between them. And then the last one is draw at least 4 trees in exit spaces. So draw 4 of them next to exits. Just to be, if you have one with a route, great. If you don't, you can always block off like one that maybe you're not going to get to. But yeah, definitely, these little challenges do add some extra fun to the regular games on the expansion. So you can play the regular game a bunch, add the challenges in there. Then you could add the expansions in there. And then once you played through the game with a bunch of times with the expansions or the challenges, you could add these little goals or whatever to the expansions as well. You can potentially add up to 2 of the expansions together. It just, the more and more you keep adding, the harder and harder it's going to get. Usually you only play with 1 expansion at a time. But if you get the expansion set, which I did that, you're going to get bigger boards, you could potentially add more. Alright, so that's what we have for the... Before I hop into yellow, I just wanted to show off the cool artwork on the backs of the boards. They're just really neat. So this is like showing your different lush jungles you can go through, or greenery. You can make your trains go through some different trains. Yeah, it's just kind of neat little aesthetic on the backs of the boards. Alright, we're going to hop into yellow here. This won't take nearly as long as the other ones. I don't need to re-explain the game, because it's the same game, just with different stuff in it. So this is desert themed. So we'll have our desert themed boards, which we'll just show them off right away. Now, the boards are going to be the same, different colors, because we're going to use a yellow and blue steam versus the green and like orange. But all the same information on there, nothing changes. So there we go. So we're not going to get into that too much. Of course, we're going to get our markers. We're going to get our challenge cards here, if we can get them out. We're going to have all our route dice, which are going to be the same as the green ones. So I'm not going to go over that. We're just going to kind of look at our challenge cards, and then we're going to look at our other dice. These cards don't want to come out of there. There we go. Alright, let's scooch this over a bit. And we have our dice. Alright. So, now here are the challenge cards. They're going to start with a G, so they start right after the green one. So if you picked up this one first and you're wondering why they have different numbers, or different letters. Just they kept them in order so it wasn't trying to decipher which one went to which. Alright, so here's how these goals work. So this one says connect at least 3 exits to the same network. So that's actually kind of a fun one. And again, you can mix and match all these to different ones. You can have multiples in play. Connect at least 4 stations to the same network. Draw a highway at least 6 long. Draw a railroad at least 6 long. Connect at least 2 exits to the opposite side of the board from each other. So there they show the top and the bottom. Here they on the picture they show the long end. And I seem to be missing one. Oh, no. This one. I am missing one. K fell apart. There is K. So K is connect at least 2 edges to the opposite side of the board. And then the other one that we just looked at was connect at least 2 exits in the middle of their board to each side. So this one has to be to the top and bottoms or the left and right sides like that, but they have to be to specifically the middle sections. Whereas this one, it doesn't honestly actually care. It can be straight across, it can be at an angle. It just needs to be all the way across. Alright, so that was that. So let's look at our first expansion. So we have little wavy lines. This is actually the harder of the two. So you have a bunch of different sides there. You have some straights, you have some angled ones, some Z-shaped or S-shaped, some just ones by themselves, some double ones. A bunch of different spots. So this is the canyons. This is the hard one. It is still 7 rounds. When you draw, you do not have to draw any of the canyon dice. The canyon dice must be connected to the edge of the board and or an open end of a pre-existing canyon. Canyons cannot be connected to the middle of a pre-existing canyon. Canyons cannot branch. So they always have to connect to the end of another one. Each canyon shows a pattern made by one or more segments. When you draw a canyon, you must represent the pattern in its entirety. If you can't make it fit on your board, you cannot draw it. You can freely reverse the pattern on the die. If you want a route to cross or even touch a bridge canyon, you must, to cross a route or even touch a canyon, you must spend a bridge point to create a bridge point over the canyon. To open the gap in the canyon to make a route. You'll have total 12 bridge points represented by the top row of the network values. When you spend one, mark a space. When you mark out 12, you can't create any more bridges. Canyons with open ends do not count as errors. At the end of the game, you gain 1 point for each segment in your longest canyon. You also gain 2 points for each individual canyon with both ends connected to the edge of the board. So when you run a canyon all the way across, you'll get 2 points for each one. Otherwise, you gain 1 point for each segment in your longest one. So how does that all exactly work? So on your board up here, it's going to show your network thing. So you just cross off the top number of your exits as you go through. And they're just showing, so this is connected this way, and then it goes up, then it goes around. So if I want to run this space right there, they're showing like the first one here, I drew a straight line there. I put my bridge there, so that's that red X. I had to, just to touch that right there, I had to draw a red X and use one of my bridges, and then I got one for there and one for there. So it's kind of an interesting little extra thing. You get some extra points by doing that, but you gotta also spend those extra points. You really have to be careful where you're doing it. And then on the bottom here, the canyon marked in red, which is the longest, is worth 8 points. 8 segments with an opening. The canyon mark on the green is connected to the edge of the 2 boards, so it's worth 2 additional points. So it's got 2 tiles with it. So you can have one that's the longest and one that has the ending. So that's a definite little different one, a little bit harder. But some of them are very easy and they just add extra fun. Some of them add a big challenge. This is the easier one. This is our desert dice. So we have an oasis, which is a little pond here. We have some cacti, different sides, just cactus dice, and we have a sun on a couple of these. So there's a different side of the guy. Cactus, with roach with cactuses, roach with oases, double-faced cacti, and the arid face. This is difficult easy with 6 points. Last 6 rounds, you do not have to build any desert dice if you don't want to. And desert dice don't have to be connected to pre-existing routes or cactus. If at least one arid face appears before drawing any dice for each round, you must erase from your board each cactus that is not adjacent to an oasis. So you want to put the little cactus next to the oases somehow. So like you're showing in the picture there, we have an oasis and we have 3 cactuses. And we have 2 of them that aren't, so those 2 will have to get deleted because we rolled a sun or an arid face. Alternatively, you can mark an available special route on your board to ignore all arid faces. This counts as using a special route. So you can get rid of your special route that when you only get 3 of, and you only get 1 per round, you can spend your 1 per round instead to get rid of that arid face. So maybe if you have a bunch of cactus and you're like, oh, I just need 1 oasis to like save like 3 of them, you might want to spend that point. At the start of the 6th round, before scoring, roll the desert dice one last time. At least 1 arid face appears. You must erase all your cactuses, or you can save it if you have a special route left. At the end of the game, you gain 1 point for each individual surviving cactus on your board. So if a space contains 2 cactus, you obtain 2 points for that space. So at the end of the game with these ones, the person would score 4 points. So very, very simple. Again, like gives you some extra routes and some extra railroad options, gives you an extra point to get some. But that arid face and using the special routes adds a nice little twist to that description. Then we have our challenge or goal cards. I keep calling them challenge cards. This is for the canyons, which is why it's CA. So spend at least 6 bridge points. So you get bonus for spending 6 points. Cross the same canyon with the same path twice. So your path, you just have to go through it twice at some point. And finally, draw a canyon with both ends connected at the edge of the board that also goes through your central area. So you have to get to each board, but you have to actually make it go into the middle of the board and exit back out, which can be a little tricky. And then we have the desert. Draw a cactus in all of the spaces of a 2x2 area in your board. The spaces don't need to be connected to each other, just in the same space. And by connected, it means you're, like it's showing here, like your railroad and road don't have to be connected. You just have to have 4 cactus next to each other. In a 2x2, so not in a line. This one wants to draw at least 4 cactus adjacent to each other in a single row or column. Same thing, roads don't have to be running through them, just 4 of them in a row. And then finally, connect at least 3 oases using the same network. Now it's fun here because they don't have to be touching each other, they just have to be on the same road. So you can have one, have 4 spaces, have another oasis, have the other one 6 spaces away. So definitely fun. That is what we have for Shining Yellow. And that is what we have for Railroad Ink. Alright, so that was our Railroad Ink, green and yellow. So check out red and blue if you haven't to see some of those challenges. If nothing else, you can skip right to the expansion part and see the expansion, guys. Check out the expansion packs I had, which show some of the bigger boards. You might decide if you like the game, that might be something worth picking up. Because it also adds some more challenge card or some goal cards for the base 2 sets as well in their expansions. And then you can check out the other expansion, guys, once I do that video, which I haven't gotten to yet, but hopefully they'll be coming soon to see all the other expansion, guys. Alright, see you guys later. Bye.